To start. It's a good looking crowd. We've got a couple of new faces here tonight. Let's introduce ourselves. My name is Sam Poindexter, NI4TG. Start right here with David.
David, KC4X. Don Center, I don't have one.
Kent, K4HKE.
Jerry, K4GW.
Stacy, W1LLO.
Doug, W4STH.
Terry, AK4D.
Jim, W4SJ.
Jeff, AC4YM.
Don, WS4NC.
KA4GQY.
Stephen, KG4JWU.
Woody, KF4PLQ.
John, K1PPE.
Doc, WV4QIZ.
Ken, K2KXK.
Brian, NZ4N.
Steve, K4LKP.
Jim, NA4J.
GMW4.
K5LCY.
Dan, KC4WSK. Mike, W4WD.
I'm Randy, NC4RT.
Bruce, WB4UCM.
Steve, WA3RTC. Terry, W3MPS. Harold, N4HER.
Gene, WB4MSG. Neil, WD4LSS. Roger, who's with us today.
All right.
Ken, KW4UC.
Linda, KW4UD.
Judson, KG40HQ.
Richard, W4IHC.
Harlan, W1HRC.
I'm sorry.
Derek, KN4CW.
Henry, W4HHS.
Mary, KM4WPO.
Bob, W3AVB.
Jim, KJ4FIN.
Michael, K4OLD.
Dwayne, KK4ZHL, and Wyatt, what is y'all?
Jim, WA4NOT.
Sparky, KD4PES.
Mark, KM4TK.
Okay. It's a good looking crowd tonight. I've got just a few announcements. Next month's presentation will be by Ken Kaiser. Remote hams. If you're interested in using the club's equipment remotely, you need to be here next meeting. Ken's going to go over that. Our business meeting is Monday night at 66 Pizza, 7:30. We meet at 6:30 and eat. We have a really good time. Good place to get to know people. I wanted to mention that thanks to Jerry Miner and David Schoth, we have a new tower contract for the tower on Saratown Mountain, right?
Yes.
And that contract is good through May of 2023. So it's good that Jerry was able to get that done for us at the same price that we've been paying. So that's great. Also, Jerry's been working on a new phone number for the club. And there's been a lot of discussion at the board meeting. You know, you may think we don't need a phone number, but really, Jerry figured out a way to get a phone number at practically no cost to us using the Magic Jack. And the number will be posted on the website. And a lot of times, you know, someone will be on the website and they'll want to make contact with the club, and that's just another way they can do that. The phone number is 336-930-W4NC. So we appreciate Jerry
Yeah,
working on
that
it.
transfers, by the way, the number port to that official number is going to happen the 13th.
Okay.
So officially 13th.
Okay.
Right now, it calls out that if you call it, it's stopped.
Okay.
And we do have some, through, thanks to Magic Jack, a new press, an extra number for the robocalls. It gets rid of almost all the robocalls,
Well,
which I thought was great.
that is good.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, with that out of the way, Kent, you want to give us a treasurer's report?
Okay, coming in tonight, our bank balance is $3,800.
$70.06. Only real major expenses that we have coming up. Our equipment insurance is due the 1st of July, which is $450, and then field day expenses, which is probably going to run about $350, $400. The 1 year power bill, that's already paid, so that's taken care of. So we're set in pretty good shape right now, or anything unforeseen.
Thank you, Ken. Harlan, you want to give us Harry's update?
Good evening, all. Couple of things. We've got our Oxcom Aries patches and stickers in. If you want to purchase those, patches are $4, stickers are $1.50. Prefer exact change or as close as you can get. We will take checks, and we'll take any Visa, MasterCard, or American Express that has an unlimited limit to it. Hand me the card, and we're good to go. After the meeting, Stacy started taking some pictures. Those that are going to be getting Oxcom Aries IDs, which should be everybody. Even if you have not completed all the training, we want to take your picture. We want to get your trainee badge. These badges are needed to be able to get into the EOC and command posts as we move forward. So we want to get your picture, get you your IDs. We've got Tour de Tanglewood coming up in September 22nd, 23rd. Please put it on your calendars. We need as many SAG units as we can get. That's our folks that volunteer their vehicles, their high-capacity vehicles that have high-power radios in them. Good news this year is we will not be going on the north side of Pilot Mountain. All operations are south of Pilot Mountain. Still in Yadkin County, Forsyth County, primarily. Little touch of Surrey County, very small part. So we need as many as we can get for that. We still need rest stop folks, and I think that's 10 rest stops this year. And we need a couple of more folks for net control. And then we have a couple more that we need for our shadows that carry the MS folks, their executive folks around. So I have a sign-up sheet we're going to pass around. Sign up, tell me what you'd like to do, and we'll go from there. We're going to continue this around. We've been having meetings. It's going to be really big this year. Right now, they've already got over 1,000 people signed up, which is more than they had last year at this point in time. So we're expecting to reach somewhere between 1,200 and 1,300 cyclists. So we want to really saturate our SAGs out there, the number of mobile units we can stick out in the field for this year. Last year, we didn't have as many as we wanted. We really want to try to saturate that and keep them visible and keep them out there. It's going to be a hot time in August again.
What was the date?
22nd, 23rd, the end of October or September.
You mean 21st and 22nd?
Yeah, whatever that weekend is.
Okay, 21st, 22nd.
Yeah.
22nd is the field day.
Yeah, okay. That's what I'm thinking is this month, but yeah. September, that weekend. All right, last thing, if anybody was monitoring the Oxcom Aries that last Thursday night, you will notice that we had a station on the fly pick up the net because I was unavailable. And that was John. I don't think he's here tonight. I don't see him. Anyway, he picked it up. I understand he did a great job. Like I said, I was not able to be there. I was on a multi-vehicle, multi-fatality accident and was tied up on that. So I was not able to grab the net and didn't even realize what time it was until I got a text from Stacy saying who's running the net. When I got to the truck, I heard Van and John talking about it. They handled it and it worked well. That's what it's all about. Anybody being able to pick up and handle it, and he did a great job. So, with that being said, we will be putting the net script up on the website for anybody to access it rapidly. Encourage you to pull it down, have it with you, have the ability to do it. Any questions on the Oxcom Aries program right now? We got a lot of stuff coming up. I'm going to tell you right now, there's a lot of training opportunities that are occurring. If you have not already signed in on NC terms, do so and take a look. There's a lot of stuff that you have access to and can take. We will be putting out things as we get there. We do have training next month in this room coming up. And I will later on try to put the date out. I can't remember what date off the top of my head it was. I think it's the 20th. It's a Saturday. It's all day. So you need that training. That's pretty much it. So if you have any questions, let me know. We'll see you after the meeting. Thanks.
Thank you, Harlan. Dale, did you have a repeater update and a testing update for us?
Good evening, everybody. Testing update. First, I want to say we were really blessed tonight. We outnumbered, the VEs outnumbered the examinees. We had 10 VEs, I think. And we only had four or five people taking the test, of which, let's see, Bob's memory is probably better than mine, but I think we had 3 tests or tech, and then a general, and then extra. They have a better idea how the test will look next month, or whenever they're ready. So, again, thanks to the VEs. I'm not in the right spot. Does that mean I need to repeat everything?
No.
The little camp?
Yeah.
Okay. Hopefully we won't forget that next time. Short memory. So anyway, thanks again to the VEs. They're the ones that keep the new ham flow coming in. And many of the members are here tonight. In fact, if any of you passed your test tonight, if you just please stand up. And welcome you to Amateur Radio. If you have any questions, ask anybody here. I'm sure they'll be glad to help you. In fact, it'll be even more exciting when you catch them on the air. So congratulations again. The repeaters are all in good shape as far as operating. The range can be improved on 6.4 and the UHF machine, both of which are on Baptist Hospital. We haven't had a good rain or storm event to be able to be up on the roof of Baptist Hospital. Maybe they'll change here, David, in the next few weeks. So,
It's been pretty stormy.
yeah, it's been pretty stormy. So actually, we don't want that. Last time we were up there, we thought, well, just 10 more minutes, and saw a storm front coming in. Figure that's a half hour away. Well, 3 minutes later, I guess everybody got flooded. So, but there is the hard line up there. Need to get the new antenna up and then connect and test the hard line. The fusion repeater does work up at 6.4, but the range is probably not as good as we'd like it to be because of the antenna situation, so just hang in there. The interference for the 4.7 or the 444 UHF machine up on Baptist Hospital is limiting the range quite a bit, so that may be almost unusable until we're able to get back up there again. On the plus side, the 4.7 machine on the mountain seems to be working out okay. There's some optimization. We want to go ahead and improve it a bit. And part of it is the internet. There's been working with the internet folks up there, and thank you, Sam, for staying in touch with the person up there as well. The internet access used to pull a head in from this city of Pilot, go up to Pilot Mountain, shoot across 5.8 miles on 5 gigahertz, and then go to Saratown Mountain. That has been in the stages of being replaced, but the provider has changed their installation date several times. So we appreciate our provider working with us, but the next scheduled date hopefully will be June 13th. They'll change everything around, and then hopefully we'll get up there and go ahead and test things from there and get some of the access to where we'd like it. And other than that, the Echolink should still be working on 4.7.
Question about that?
Yes, go ahead.
I was doing a little testing earlier last week, and I was able to access Echolink from home, from my Wi-Fi network at home,
Okay.
but not from my phone.
Okay.
Is that I can access other stations, other nodes from my phone, but not ours. I couldn't.
Android or Apple phone?
Apple.
Okay.
I couldn't
I had-
access it either. Okay, I was at the beach and I tried once.
I'll take a look and see.
I don't understand why. What would be different about our node than other nodes that I can access.
It should work, but I'll check and see if it could be something as simple as the automatic updates for Windows that I've turned off. The last one came in and turned itself back on again, and it's waiting to reboot. So I'll bet that's probably what it is, because I've seen that happen before.
Okay.
But thanks for letting me know, and hopefully you can go ahead and get in. But if not, check your automatic, direct, and proxy. Try
I
changing
tried
those
all.
positions.
I tried all.
None of them
three.
worked?
6 months ago, we were here and I was able to access it, so something happened either to me or to no.
I'll take a look and see.
Said,
Thanks.
Sam, you weren't able to access it?
No, I can't remember the error message.
Could be port numbers on his.
Well, that's what I'm thinking too, but he's using the smartphone. Oh, through your Wi-Fi, the smartphone?
So it would work either way, either Wi-Fi or through the cell network. I couldn't get it
Okay.
on my phone. But the ports must be okay because I was able to access it via my Windows computer.
Just since ports were mentioned, any of you that have Wi-Fi and try to use Echolink through a Wi-Fi connection for your phone or a computer, you want ports 5198, 5199, and 5200. I'll generally bridge it over to 5201 for an overlap on some routers, and just check both TCP and UDP. Put it in the router, reboot. Put it in the router, save it,
What
and
were
then
those
reboot
again?
it. Ports 5198, 5199, and 5200. If you have a port range, just make it 5198 to 5201. On some routers, there's an overlap where it may not pick up the last 5200 port. You can tell that where you can hear it one way. Either you can hear the Echolink coming in, but they can't hear you when you transmit. That's usually a definite indication the ports are not open on your router properly. So, any other questions at this point? Okay, thanks for your patience. We'll continue to work with the systems.
Thank you, Dale. Okay, tonight, in lieu of a presentation tonight, we're going to have our field day discussion. The field day is free of charge. It's lots of fun, and we have free food at the evening meal. And I would encourage everyone to come out June 22nd and 23rd. I would encourage everyone to participate. It's a lot of fun. Henry is our field day chairman. And so at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Henry.
I'm not Henry. Henry is somewhere. I think he's on a cruise ship. Here we go.
Thank you, Sam, and welcome everybody. Good evening. My name is Henry, W2DZO. I'm sorry I couldn't be at the meeting tonight, but I video filled some of the gaps about our field day operation this year. First of all, let me just start by saying Field Day is one of my favorite events in amateur radio. It's a little bit of contest, and it's a little bit of skill testing, and it takes a lot of dedication, especially doing the type of operation that we do at the club. So let's start with a little history. First field day, does anybody know when the first field day was hosted by the ARL? Anybody know what year that was? Good, you're right, 1933, very good, in the back there, excellent. Yeah, the first field day was in 1933. Now, I'm not quite sure, and I should have done a little bit of research, but I didn't get a time to do that. But I'm pretty sure that the Forsyth Amateur Radio Club, which was then known as the Winston-Salem Amateur Radio Club, participated in one of the first 3 or 4 field days and actually won. We had the top score. So that's kind of exciting. The club has generally, 6 or 7 years, we've been operating at 9A, and I'll go into what 9A means in a second. But let's talk a little bit about history. I teach radio history at Summit School, and I think knowing a little bit about the background of the event is kind of important too. So I'm going to go only as far back as I know. I was licensed in 1988, but I actually went to my first FARC field day in 1987. I'm pretty sure that was the year because there's a picture of me somewhere, and I alluded to this at the last club meeting. There's a picture of me somewhere holding a motorcycle helmet, and I'm looking over, I think it was Bob Gates, KJ4RC, our club trustee, looking over his shoulder at a radio, and somebody took a picture of that. And I wasn't licensed yet, but I was really interested. My grandfather was an amateur radio operator. He was actually W2DZO. And so in '87, after I saw that field day, I kind of got the bug, and I started reading the books and getting into it, and I was licensed in 1988. And I remember my first active field day as a licensed amateur radio operator was in '88, and that was at a park in Kernersville. It was called 4th of July Park. It was really hot, and there were a bunch of people there, and the biggest memory I have of that field day was at about 2 a.m., everybody left and said, "Here, you take the overnight shift." And I said, "All right, well, what do I do?" And they just said, "Well, just keep making contact." So I sat there from 2 a.m. till about 6:30 in the morning. Overnight, people checked in and out, but I was pretty much alone, and I just remember running 80 sideband, and I ran it for 4.5 straight hours. It was the most fun I ever had. I said, I like this hobby. I want to do this. So that was my first recollection of an active field day. We were there, I believe, a couple more times, and then we moved to Miller Park, and we did a couple events at Miller Park, maybe one or two. I just remember a very tall vertical it was actually a series of dipoles off a vertical with a switch box that the club had actually worked on to build as a group for several months before that field day, and then we put it up, and it swayed back and forth, and it sort of sometimes tuned and sometimes it didn't, but it was a lot of fun. After the Miller Park field days, we moved to Summit School. I was working there, and we had a situation where we had a protected building where we could have the radios underneath. We thought it was a good idea because it was pretty close to Channel 12. So, and they did actually come over and film our field day. And we had a huge field that we could put things up. So we ran like a 900-foot long wire. And again, I think we just ran 2A. In fact, as far as I remember, most of the operations until the last 5, 6, 7 years were 2A operations. And again, we'll get to that. Explaining that for those of you who don't understand the 2A and the 9A and all that stuff, I'll explain that too. So after we did Summit School, then we moved to Lineback Park, which is over there on Robin Hood Road, behind the Y there. And we were there for a bunch of years. In fact, it was there that Jean's daughter met her future husband, Tim, AG4RZ. So that was kind of neat that the club was involved in a little bit of romantic situation there. And after Lineback Park, we then moved to Hobby Park. Our operation had grown, and it was time to make it a little bigger, so we moved out to Hobby Park. In between there, we actually did 2 operations on one field day. We had a group at Hobby Park, and we had a group at the Red Cross. So we were running an EOC, and we were running Emergency Operations Center, and we were running the field day event at Hobby Park. So anyway, that brings us up to our operation this year. Field day is Saturday and Sunday, June 22nd and 23rd. And this year, we'll be operating field day or setting up for field day on the Friday like we usually do, except we have the ability to stay on site overnight, which means Friday is a big day. On Friday, we're going to be able to set up and not only the antennas, the ropes and the antennas, but the coaxes. And this will take a huge burden, we hope, off the Saturday morning push. So we're going to be able to do get everything up on Friday, and this is where we need volunteers Friday. We'll be there starting at 8 a.m. And when Gene gets up in a bit, Gene and Harold get up, and they'll talk a little bit about the setup and how that will proceed. So let's talk about what the numbers mean. All right, so in field day, there's a different category that you can sign up for. You can elect to operate anywhere from 1 to, I believe, 26 amount of transmitters, and these are in band mode combinations. In other words, if you can run, you can have a station on 40 meter sideband, and you can have a station on 40 meter CW. That would be 2. So if you're going to run those the whole weekend, you would run 2. That would be your number. The letters signify the type of organization it is, whether it's a club, which is A,
Then you have you can have a home operation, which is D. You can have a two-person operation, I think that's B. That doesn't matter. Our category is going to be 9A, 9 alpha, and that means that we're going to run up to 9 band mode combinations at any one given point. In other words, it's kind of interesting. If we ran 15 transmitters at one time to start the contest, we did it for 2 minutes, and then the rest of the 24 hours, we just ran one radio, we would still have to run as 15A. So we are counting on running no more than 9 complete different band mode combinations. Then there's some extras you get as operating as a club. So get to operate what they call a go-to station, or get on the air. The get on the air station is for novices, and not the license level, but perhaps people who don't do a lot of HF operating, or they rarely get on the radio, or they're not licensed at all, and they can actually get on and make contacts. And what's neat about that station is it's independent of our 9 transmitters. So, and it also uses a separate call sign. Our club operation will be running W4NC. And our go-to station will be running W4WS, Whiskey for Whiskey Sugar, which is a club call that I am the trustee of. And we got that call years ago when we actually had some a group of contesters that would go off and do all sorts of contesting, mountain topping and all, and so we thought, let's get our own call sign. And so we did that. We also get a free UHF VHF station, so everything above 6 meters, we also get to operate a free transmitter that is not included in our 9 regular transmitters. So that's what the 9A references, and it represents a lot of RF in one area. So it takes a lot of effort to try to keep all those transmitters from getting into each other. And every year we have problems, and every year we try different things to fix that. Gene, WB4MSG, and Harold, N4HER, they've been amazing at building filters that will allow us to operate radios right next to each other. And they've been doing this stuff for a long time, so we're glad to have them. We wouldn't be able to do the operation we've done for the last half dozen years, this 9A thing, without their ability to create these filters that let us operate so closely. We'll also be operating a satellite station. Stephen Marish will be working on that. He's done that for many years for us, and we actually got a contact last year. It's not an easy thing to do, because you think about 30,000 plus operators in the United States in 24 hours, and they all want that one contact with the satellite, and that's not an easy thing. So we're hoping Steve was able to pull that out for us again this year. So that's the arrangement of the radios. Now, there's a huge plan for where the antennas go, and there's a huge plan for where the radios are set up in the inside. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and stop for a second. I'm going to let Gene talk about the antenna setup. And Gene, while you're doing that, why don't you go ahead and talk about the basic setup for the inside part, where the radios and the tables are set up. So let's give Gene a hand.
You knew where you were going to sit, too, didn't you? Yeah, you see him look over there?
We tried on thing. Find the camera.
The moon.
Well, it makes sure you put something on there. Can you pull up a file?
Probably do that.
See if you can.
Let's see where I am in this.
Anyway, Harold's been working himself to death along with, I've been working some too with him and doing some other stuff. Been building some different filters so that we can get more attenuation between the stations. The ones that we built were called ugly filters, and it was off of a group that had done this some years back, and you build them in old power supply boxes, and they worked great, but they only had about a 40 to 45 dB attenuation on adjacent bands. So some of these filters I've been working on have up to 90 dB now, so not necessarily on adjacent band, but the ones on above that. and we're gonna put those on the stations we had some problems with, but Harold's been working on antennas along with me. We went with all these loops, and the main reason with going with those was they were easy to pull up, and they worked, and they just pull them up on a reel after the event and be able to store them away. But they didn't really give you much gain. It might be a couple of dB, and they were kind of directive. So when you put them up, you had broadside direction off of them, and you might be missing some stuff that was off the sides. So a guy had a presentation here years ago on, can you get it?
What's it called?
Go to the A directory.
A directory?
Yeah.
See the
I know, it's supposed to be. It's
A
A,
directory. I'm gonna close this.
something.
Just put file.
There you go. Go up to A. And bring up field day layout. Anyway, this is Hobby Park, and I didn't put, this one we don't have antennas on. Harold and I went over there, and we decided where to put all the antennas. Antennas over the last couple of years have just gotten mixed around because we were too busy to do a good job of the way I first laid it out, so we were getting some interference and stuff. So we had been putting the 20-meter trailer here. We're going to set it way back out there, which is another 100 foot away or so. Harold's going to move his digital station away down here almost 500 foot from where we're operating, and he's got some hard line to run down there to that. And that should help him. The reason he has so much trouble running the digital is that puts 3 stations on a band, and that's just an awful lot of stations, and he's right next to the CW guy with his operation. So he gets tore up all the time. Hopefully moving him down there will get rid of some of that interference. Another thing we're doing, instead of the loops this year, we've been building H double bay antennas. The guy that came several years ago and showed those, they used to operate, or they still do, up on the mountain in Boone for all the VHF stuff. With their beams, they had stacked sets of beams for every band, and they were really directive. So they'd call CQ running 1,500 watts up there, and people would hear them off the back with 5 watts, and they couldn't get back to them and work them. So they came up with the H double bay, which is a pair of loops stacked actually. And the neat thing about it is you feed it at the bottom with just 50 ohm coax, and it's a direct match to it. The other neat thing is it has almost 10 dB of gain. So you'd have to put a 4-element beam up to get that. And the pattern is pretty much the same as a beam off of it, but it's bi-directional. So you don't have to rotate it to go 2 directions. What I've done is designed the thing up to give you north, south, east, west direction and direction switching over the coax. So each one of the stations on 10 and 15 and the one sideband station on 20 will have these up. And the neat thing about those, we're going to place them here, and one of the loops will look east-west, one will look north-south. And if you're getting interference, like the 10-meter station for CW will be here, the sideband will be up here somewhere. As long as you're off the sides, they have 3 to 5 S units rejection. So that's another bunch of continuation we can put in just by flipping a switch. So if you're getting a lot of interference, you'll be able to switch directions with it and hopefully pick up stations with the extra gain that we'll have, because by the time you get everything figured out, that'll make the 100-watt rig sound like 500, 600 watts equivalent ERP. So that'll really help us out there. It should. And 10 and 15's not been open. It opens really good at times, but you never know, and so the extra gain on those bands should help. So we're working on getting all those together. But Harold's a genius at constructing stuff and designing it, and he's done a heck of a job on these antennas. And the way you hoist them up is one rope over the tree and just pull it up and you're through. And the way he's got it set up, there's 12 screws. How many screws? It's 12 screws you got to screw in.
Yeah.
And the antennas together, and it all fits in a little box or a little bucket box. Cat litter boxes that he's got, so you can store them in the box except for the pipes, and they can be banded together. And he's come up with a color code on all of them to match the stuff. So you pull this hub out, you stick in 4 pipes, tighten the hose clamps up, run screws in the wires that go on it. Then you go to the center set, and then the bottom set, and you're through building the antenna. So probably 15 to 20 minutes per antenna is all it's going to take to assemble it. 2 guys is better at assembling it than 1, helping to hold stuff. But all you need is a screwdriver to put the whole antenna together. And like I said, it'll pull up to 1 support.
2 screwdrivers.
2 screwdrivers, yeah, 1 on each end possible.
No, there's the one flat blade and the one Phillips.
Well, that's true.
That's the same screwdriver.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Use what
Or
I
a
got
nut
there.
driver. Or a nut driver. But he's got a real good design on this thing, and it'll be some antennas that can stay with us for years to come because the construction he's done, they should be really sturdy. They're on 10 meters. It covers. We've got them cut, 1 for CW, 1 for sideband, and they'll be labeled for that so we know which goes where. So all that's going to be done by field day. The only thing left is tuning. I'll let you speak to that.
Well, I'd stand up, but some of you know I had surgery recently, so.
He just had surgery today at 1 o'clock. So
Anyway, I've got there's 6 antennas. He didn't mention the 6 meters.
6 meters.
But there's a 6 meter, the 20, and 2 10s and 2 15s. I need to tune those. A couple of them are tuned. I need 4 of them that have got a tune. I need some volunteers to help me tune them. I'm looking at maybe Thursday and Friday. I'm not going to do much between now and Thursday. But Terry came out and helped me earlier, and basically all I need for help is, we pull them up, put the analyzer on it, decide if we need to trim it a little bit. I have purposely cut them a little long, expecting to have to trim off, but you pull it up, check it, pull it down, cut the horizontal elements, pull it back up. That's all that's involved. I can do an antenna by myself, but it's like pulling on this rope and letting this rope out. So 2 or 3 people will make it easier.
Now, you want to do it, you say, this Thursday and Friday, or the?
Yeah, this Thursday and Friday.
Okay, I can make it.
Yeah,
We'll talk later.
We'll decide. Anyway, like Gene said, putting the antennas together or simply sliding the horizontal pieces in, tightening hose clamps, everything is designed so it's no measuring. You push them into a stop, tighten it down. You put the wires on it, which are there. Each antenna, there's 2 antennas, and they're like this, 90 degrees apart. Each antenna has 4 wires. So you got 6 screws, 3, 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6, and you just put it through the lug, tighten it down. The one on the center's got 2, and the one on the bottom, hook the coax on the bottom, pull it up. For the people putting the ropes up and the antennas, if you have a 5/16" nut driver, if you can bring that, we make tightening the hose clamps up a little easier.
That's the yellow one.
If not, it's a flat-bladed screwdriver. I think a good sturdy flat-bladed screwdriver, and the screws that hold the wires on are number 2 Phillips. What we would like to do is when they get the support ropes up, as the guys are putting them up, if you could bring something like a 100-foot tape measure, if you have one, pull it up and tell us how high the ropes are. We want to know where we picked out to put the trees in. Where the trees that we picked to put them in. We kind of want to figure out coax length and stuff like that.
I have a 300-foot. I have a 300-foot.
well, I've got a couple in Harold's.
Yeah, but those are, and then the other tools that we will find useful, you come out to help on field day, is a battery powered drill. There's a bunch of things we've put up with screws and a battery powered drill to screw that stuff in with is easier than the old mechanical screwdriver.
And if things go good, I don't really look for us to get all the antennas up Friday. That'd be pushing it. But, you know, if we can get all the ropes up and at least half the antennas up, we'll be way ahead. And we might do better than that. I mean, it just depends on how many people show up.
Yeah.
And the weather.
If people have antenna launchers, the air cannons or what have you, bring those. I have one that is available. I know Ken's got one.
I have one.
Yeah, but you know, that just means more crews can do stuff quicker.
And we've been using the little black rope, which on some of those antennas it's heavy, like the big 80-meter one down there in the hollow. It was always hard pulling it up with those ropes. So we've got some different rope. It's they used to call it mule tape, but it's a wide flat rope that they pull wires through conduit and stuff with. It's good for 1,200 pounds, and the little black stuff won't hold that much. So
yeah.
It's really good rope, and you've got what, a 3,000-foot rope?
Yeah. The other thing that has been done is in the past we've kind of wrapped a rope around the tree to secure it. Well, this year I've got about 1.5 inch eye bolts. You know, punch a hole in the tree, put the eye bolt in there and screw it in. Again, the battery powered drill, I have some little hooks so you can put it in, put it in the drill, and it'll run it right in quick for you. So we want to put eye bolts to tie the pull ropes to. And
City wants to say that 300.
That's what I was gonna ask. Damage to the tree?
we've got the park for 2 days. It's our park.
That don't mean we can
When,
chop
when
off
we,
trees.
when we take it down, we'll pull the eye bolts out. It doesn't, I mean, it leaves a hole about the size of not even the size of a pencil.
You make the trees?
Pardon?
You make the trees? Put a bucket on
No,
it.
well, but I don't think we have any of
Well,
those.
the trees in my backyard's got some of those eye bolts screwed in there, and the problem is the tree grows over the eye bolt, and you can't get your rope through it, so.
Yeah.
I don't know how much it hurts the tree.
Right, but you know, go ahead.
You get enough volunteers Thursday.
We'd like to get a list sent
See me
around.
after the meeting, the ones that want to help, and we'll set up the time. But I can't think of anything, you know, just basic hand tools, the things that we're going to need to do besides the antennas is like those shade tarps we put on the back side of the shelter there. You know, we got to put those up. We're going to put up a couple antennas, push-up poles. But hopefully, with what we get done with the ropes and all that pulled, it's just a matter of pulling the antennas up. They'll already be tuned. The idea behind using tuned antennas like that is we don't need tuners on the radio. They're matched for the band, and most of them are the center of the bands we pick. The SWR is like less than 1.1.
Yeah.
I think it's come down that good there. And we've been testing an antenna, or I've been playing around with the antenna on a particular band, and we can see those 3S units of deep difference as the thing switch.
Side,
Yeah.
And on 6 meters, I saw about a 5S unit difference at the house, so that should really cut down if we've got the sides of them all pointing as much as we can to each other. It'll at least give you one direction. You should be able to cut the other 10-meter station down to 5S units or so, probably, or at least 3. And then the filters on top of that will help a little bit. But I've been doing a lot of research over the years, and it seems like people kind of say a magic number is maybe 250 feet or so. If you can put a 10-meter antenna here and one up here, 250 foot apart, and running 100 watts, then the overload may not, pretty sure it won't be enough to burn another rig up. But you know, if you put them 50 feet apart, it's a good chance you'll burn another rig up when one guy's transmitting and another one's listening. So the filters can't help that because it's in the same band.
To give you an idea of distance from, I think it was what, 300 feet over to the corner of the parking lot
Yeah,
there?
it's 300 foot from here to here. Harold's going 500 foot this way, and from here down past where Harold was is 1,000 feet, which you're supposed to stay within a 1,000 foot limit. So, we could put some stuff across here, but then we'd be going across the parking lot and we'd have to protect the cable, so we don't want to do that.
When we measured it out from the,
How high is, are you gonna put anything high down there?
He's gonna put his vertical down there,
but,
You know you got a runway there.
oh, I know.
oh, it's over near where the seating area is down
And
there.
the guy that was out, when we were out there,
Checking it out.
checking it out, there was a guy from the local playing club, and, you know, reminded him, feel that, he says, oh, yeah, we don't fly on that weekend. So they know that we're coming. The 500-foot mark is near, is distance-wise, is at the end of the runway.
But way off from
But we're down by the
track.
derby track.
Yeah, gotcha, okay.
Yeah.
And our furthest antenna kind of goes in this opening up here. I can't tell you right off the top of my head where we're putting everything because it all depended on the trees, and I've got that laid out on a piece of paper like this, but
And
not in the computer.
you know, the 80 meter, which is our longest, is going to go back where it has been.
Yeah, one of them's going to go here, and we're going to try to run the other one up here. Last year, it was sitting this way, which is bad. If you've got them side to side, they pick up the most signal. End on end for a dipole is the best way to have it. So we're going to try to position those end on end and keep some of the interference down that way. Hopefully, we won't have any. Last year, we didn't have a 6-meter filter, and I've got one of those built this time. I don't know if I said that or not. So anyway, that's the way we've been proceeding. Harold's,
Yeah.
Okay. I won't be using any mains. So if you, and I'll be running the satellite system in my camper. And also at the same time, we found it was good to run 6 meters off the same rig when he wasn't trying to get a satellite. So we could sit on the opposite side of the parking lot.
well, we're going to have a 6-meter antenna put up down here amongst the others.
I was just
Yeah.
giving you just.
But I'm saying, I don't think last year the interference was from 10 meters, and we didn't have a filter on it. So
Right, but I was
this year
saying-
we're going to take care
I
of
was just
that.
saying we could have it on the other side of the parking lot and not be using that space for.
Yeah.
Where are you going to set your camper, John?
Well, last year I set it right down there at next to the pavilion, but because, like I said, I'm not going to be using any mains.
Yeah.
I could take up there in that corner, the bottom of Pac-Man's mouth, where the trees are.
Yeah.
I could be sitting over there with the verticals that we're going to use for the satellite, and you could put the 6-meter up over there as well, and that way it would be completely out of everybody's way.
Is the
But I
guy
mean,
here
that's
that
just-
operated 6 meters down there in the building last year? I don't remember who it was. We had 6-meter sideband set up down in the building last year. And, so, you know, if we do that and you run it there, the only problem is, we won't be able to set it up in the building. So we'll have to make sure that we only got one station on 6.
Well, yeah, that's
So,
Yeah.
what I talked to Henry about.
so,
Bring it in if we need it, it's there.
so.
Well, that's
I
what
don't-
I'm saying, is, I
Yeah.
mean, you know.
It doesn't matter where you go with it, John. I think the problem will be cured with the filter.
Okay.
So,
Well, yeah,
so
I was just-
you could sit back down there where you did last year.
Okay.
Now, you got.
I gotta be sitting someplace where I get sunlight a majority of the day.
Okay. Now, and that is probably the other side of the parking lot.
That's what I was thinking.
Well, we could,
Because, you know, the sun, this is the east
Mm-hmm.
for, yeah.
we've not looked at any trees over there as far as pulling the antenna up, so I don't know, have any idea.
I think when I set the compass up, sitting in at the table, the end of that aviation shed is north.
Yeah, out here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
and that's-
direction.
So we,
East is down here,
So that's why-
west is down here, so the sun will come from that way and set here. So if he's over on that side of the parking lot, so the trees doesn't block his sunlight.
We know there's an upper parking lot as well.
Pardon?
Yeah, but is it within the 1,000 foot?
No.
It would be from Harold's antenna up there probably.
Yeah.
But that's where all the people that come in to ride bikes and stuff, and I'd rather not go up there with any radio operations. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's why we hadn't before. I guess we could, but I haven't looked at putting antennas up there.
I remember correctly, that was for couldn't be.
It could be, I'm not sure.
Sunshine like the real.
He'd be better off down here. Anyway, and I didn't know Henry was gonna ask me to say something about the station layout in there, because I sent him plans for that, and I thought we put it on the video, but we're gonna just set the tables up like we did before and run off.
Usually when we get out there, we'll arrange the tables in 3 rows, you know, they've got them set up, so it gives us plenty of walkway between them, and the table on the east side of the shed, most of that is Steve's for the food, and then the west side of the shed in the center row is for the radios. We usually put a couple tables up against the brick wall.
And we have all the sideband station antennas here, the CW ones up the hill.
Henry is planning, from what I got from him, he has a projector like this, I think, coming, and a screen that he's going to have this.
Everything's gonna be tied together?
Well,
he's going to network everything and then project
if you're going to bring a PC to use, and Henry will probably go over this, it needs to be wireless. He's going to set up a wireless.
I use my phone as a hotspot.
Yeah, but he's going to just set it up. We're going to run N1MM logger, which will act as the server and client type setup. So when you make a log entry into N1MM, it will transfer it to the server, and it totalizes all the calls. You got a running score of total score, and I think it will also do the contact.
Yeah, the other program that we've been running, RightLog, does all the same thing, but Henry wants to switch to N1MM, and so I hadn't been using it. I put it on 2 computers. One computer works with it, the other one doesn't. But I'm trying to set up the digital stuff and all, and it's a bunch of setup with it, different than RightLog was. I gotta learn all the menus. If you're gonna just put it on there to run sideband on, it's not that bad. Once you install it, it'll pretty well run that. And it's easy to connect to the network, just like RightLog.
Well, this will be a local network, no internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had tried this several years ago, but that was before all the stuff became as good as it is now. So we had trouble keeping computers connected to the network and logging all the time. They kept dropping off, and it became more of a headache for one person. Just had to try to take care of that. Henry seems to think he can take care of all of it since he's running N1MM. I don't know. I hope it works that well, and he gets to operate. So we'll just have to see. But both of the packages, if your computer does disconnect, if it's like RightLog, and I'm sure it is, if the computer shuts down for some reason, you might lose one contact, but when you bring the thing back up, it'll bring up the log with the last contact or the one before that, and you can just go on. And then once it's up, it will automatically tie back to the network once you first set it up, and it'll report back its score. So both packages are pretty well automated in that respect. So what it'll make, and what that'll do, and he may go over this, that'll give us. But last year, people started shutting down computers, and we didn't get all the log files off, and we had to go back and try to get the logs, get them to Henry. He had to combine them because there were several different logging packages ended up running instead of just one like we wanted. And what happened is it took him days to get all the logs combined together to send a score in. At the end of the contest, the log should be done, and he just have to mail the contest log in. So it'll make it a lot easier in that respect.
The other thing that if you're going to bring your computer and you put N1MM on it, do not do any updates after Wednesday before field day.
Yeah, N1MM is famous for every time you boot up with it, they've got a new update for it, and they do them quite regularly.
Who has, is the club, like Sea Hero Ride, the club has them license for it?
It's not a license, it's free.
Free. It's
Totally
free there?
free. Some of the contesters up north got together and started this thing years ago, and they've got it probably is better than any. I mean, its features are it's about the same as Right Log, and both of those packages are, I'd say, the top two packages used, and they both do pretty much the same thing, but it covers all the contests, and it's got digital mode stuff in it that you can run with 3 different digital packages. So you know, it's pretty well covers everything. The only thing it wouldn't do digital is FT8, and you got to run that WSJT to do that. And Harold and I have been playing around with that some. The problem is the guy fixed WSJT so it would send the field day reports to N1MM or Right Log, but he only sends the state. He doesn't send the section or the report. So there's a little bit of a question if that's all. From what Henry said, he thinks that's all you need for field day is just that state report, because that's what they do the mulch off of and whatnot. If not, then somebody would have to go back after the contest and enter all those reports in there. So that could get a little messy, but that's the only thing that's a question about.
One thing I want to mention is I will bring out my rig for the digital station. Other rigs can run digital if they want to get set up for it. You know, when the band opens up for digital. I will be doing a lot of other things, so I need digital operators. Anybody wants to sit down. Usually last year and the year before, Bob Gusick would come out. You know, Bob's had some health problems, and I emailed him and asked him if he wanted to run. He said if he'd see, you know, how his situation is, but if you want to operate a digital station, it takes about 2 minutes to show you how to do it. And then it's just click and make contacts. So please come by and operate.
Any kind of questions or any comments on problems you had at a certain station last year that we need to think about specifically on interference and stuff?
Hey Gene, just to mention, the Briar Patch Radio Club, remember they had some members now. They built some of those filters last year in paint cans.
Yeah, so we could put them in anything.
Yeah. They paid about $2 for just empty paint cans.
Yeah.
You can go over.
I got the computer cases for free.
You can go over to a place like Lowe's or Home Depot.
Yeah,
and buy clean cans.
That's what they did. They put them all in the lid and put them all in the test.
Yeah.
That's what they built their.
Also, Jim had said something about trying to run a triplexer on a beam so that you could run 3 rigs off of one antenna. And I told him it wasn't no use to spend the money on buying one of those. I've got one built. As soon as I get with Harold and we put it in a box, it's finished. I tuned it this past week, and it has like 40-some dB attenuation station to station. Then you run a filter in line with it, and that gives you about 80 or 90 dB adjacent band rejection. So you can run 3 rigs on one antenna. The only thing I don't see, I know on field day, a lot of times Jim will be working out west, the band will be open there, and 10 to 15 will open north and south. And so if he's like that, then you know you're going to be off the side of the beam, and you're going to miss a lot of contacts probably on those 2 bands. So I don't know if we'll even use it there. Main reason I went ahead and built this thing to see if I could get it going. It's probably going to be something we're going to add to the station in here to allow 3 rigs to run off of the antenna. Then we could have remote operation with 3 rigs in here at one time. So that's just something for the future here too. But, anyway, I think we ended up, how much were the coils? $3 a piece?
Yeah, the toroids are.
We ended up with about probably $30 in this thing. So
yeah.
Anyway, it's the same thing. They get $450, $500 for in the main places. I stole one of their designs. That guy VA, is it VA3 Alpha Mike? I think it is. If you go to his website, he sells these things, and I think he actually builds them for Array Solutions or one of those outfits. And he's got some you can run 3,000 or 4,000 watts on. But they've got massive coils and massive capacitors. Probably cost you $400 or $500 to build one, but I think they get like 1,200 to 1,500 for it, so.
Out of the country, I guess.
Yeah. Let's hope.
Okay, we got more video. He's bad at it. You can look at him.
Yeah, you're good.
I don't know where we are. I think we're about
11 minutes, 15 seconds.
11:15. All right, I'm at
You
11.
need to continue where it says thank you, Chief.
Yeah. I'm going down to 11:15. Close enough for government work. There it is. There's our blank
All
spot.
right.
One thing to note about the station that we'll have set up there is we'll also have an educational opportunity. Harold is going to
educational activity for those who are interested, and that is also worth a 100-point bonus. And every year he does a great job with this, so we're looking forward to that as well. So now I want to run a timeline for the field day. There's 5 or 6 really important times that are critical. This doesn't include the setup from Friday. This actually starts on Saturday morning. So if you're interested, we'd love to have everybody out there to start setting up things and getting things ready to go. We'll be out there at 8 a.m. on Saturday morning. 8 a.m. is the first part of the first tag on the timeline. Okay, the next one is 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock is when the field day actually starts. Okay, nobody can transmit before 2 p.m. So 2 p.m. is the magic time. We're hoping to have our what I would consider our money bands up and active and ready to go. That includes 40 all modes, 20 all modes, and our digital station, which can do any of those bands. So those are the 2 big ones that we want on the air, or the 2 band mode combinations: a 40 CW sideband, 20 CW sideband, and our digital. And we're gonna make sure that those are all pushing at 2 o'clock. The next tag on the timeline is 6 p.m. Why do we do this? Well, we do this to have fun. We do this to strengthen our ability to communicate with amateur radio in times of disaster, and because we like to eat. Field day is always a big fellowship session, and dinner is a big part of field day. You ask just about anybody who operates field day every year, whether it's here or any other operations, and they always tell you that the best part is the food. So I'm going to stop for a second. I'm going to let Steve Patterson, WA3RTC, get up and share a little bit about the food, and if there's anything that you can do to help him. So Steve, go ahead and take it.
Henry. You're welcome. Well, you stole my first item, 6 o'clock on Saturday. What we're doing is going to having kind of a picnic type meal plan. Hot dogs, hamburgers, by popular request, corn. You're welcome. Macaroni salad, potato salads, baked beans, all that sort of stuff. I'm not planning on any other meal. I know Sunday mornings, in the past, people have brought biscuits and stuff in. Hey, that's great, because we're not going to plan it. Saturday is it. However, after I told them that I'm planning 3 hot dogs and 1.5 hamburgers for 60 people, they said, get some more hot dogs. So we're going to have enough hot dogs so you can have hot dogs probably Sunday morning too, if you can stand it. There are a few items that I'd like to go over that I need assistance on. But the big thing is I need an assistant, somebody. I'm going to be running back and forth. I've already today I went out and I bought the first load. My car chugged home and I put them in my garage, but we're going to be running back and forth on, somebody's going to be there Friday night.
Yeah, I'll be there Friday night.
So we can bring and leave some of the stuff there Friday night. One of the things that I want to go through first, and the big thing about it, I'm going to ask somebody to help me out on that as a volunteer. But I've got a couple of specifics that I want to address. If you're here, I'll take this as notification. Dave, you're going to bring an extra tank of propane.
With propane.
With propane at this time. All right. Harold, you're going to bring a grill.
Yeah, and a full tank.
With a full tank. and an empty ice chest.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have them Friday.
Yeah.
Because Friday, people are gonna be working. Those empty chests, I'm gonna get one from Harold, Harlan, you have one Friday,
Yes.
empty, and Don, I would like a empty chest, ice chest, and a iced tea jug from you next Tuesday.
All right.
I'll come pick them up.
I can get you the ice chest. I can find the tea jar.
If you don't find the tea jar, I'll know by Tuesday and we'll make other arrangements. Okay, the other ones, Henry's gonna bring another grill for the hot dogs with whatever fuel you're gonna, right, Henry? Thank you.
I'll give you one with wood or charcoal. Makes it taste so much better.
No, it doesn't.
Oh,
Boiling
yeah,
is the
it does.
best way, but I don't wanna hear anything else. Hot dogs at the ballpark are boiled, and they are the best. Anyway, Henry volunteered, he is furnishing that. Me. Okay, that's the items that are, I understand that we may run a drawing that the winner wins the grill that we use. Not the full tank.
It's a door prize. The tank comes home with me, the grill stays. It's a Craftsman grill. It has been up in a sheltered environment, so it's in good shape.
Get the cat hair out, and we got one good.
And you get a set of tongs, a spatula.
So we have a door prize now.
It has a brush, but they say don't use the ones with a wire anymore.
They tend to perforate things.
Yeah, perforate valves.
All right, that's the individuals. I'll contact Jeff and the other people on here that are not here tonight about what they've got. But do I get a volunteer to help me do that running on Friday? Because Friday we're going to get ice and get the water out there, because on Friday we've got to got people out there. We're going to have water so they can be hydrated.
What time do you?
What time are people looking at Friday? I know 8 o'clock on Saturday.
8 Friday.
8 Friday at the park.
I'll be there.
Okay, and we'll be running back and forth. If you happen to have a truck, that's even better.
CRV.
Hey, that's great. It's almost as good as my Prius. All right, that's I can get a lot of stuff in that Prius.
No. One thing I forgot to mention, and Henry said about the educational event, I need help with that, and then I need somebody to take pictures. I will provide the camera, because we have to we have to document the educational event. The educational event is the erection of that vertical, like I did last year. I'll bring the camera, and I think I'm gonna bring the video camera to set it up on a tripod. Start it. So.
And you need at least one person that doesn't know anything about antennas.
Yeah.
You do it, right?
Well, the thing is, this radio stuff, it's great, and everybody enjoys it, but food, come see me.
All right, let's back to the video. Back to the video. Back to the video.
Okay, thank you, Steve. The next
tag on the timeline to me, which I think is important, is midnight. Midnight is when things change. We have band conditions changing, we have the nighttime bands changing or becoming really active, and this is where the people who have been there all day start to get tired. So the reason I make midnight a big, important timeline, go up and be fresh. If you want to help set up and then or go to dinner or do anything, as long as we have people to show up fresh and operate 2 or 3 hours overnight. That's really helpful to all those guys who have been there all day, and you'd be amazed what 2 or 3 hours of sleep in your van or on a cot or in a tent can do. So midnight's important. If you like coming out, get out of the house at midnight and come bring a cup of coffee and come operate a little bit overnight. Next important timeline tag is sunrise. Sunrise is when things start to change again. Propagation changes, and we need fresh operators once again. We'll also have coffee on, and hopefully a lot of people usually bring some biscuits for those who have been sitting there working. So sunrise is big, somewhere between 6 and 8 a.m. Come on out, and we'll start pushing the bands again there. A whole new set of bands. The 80 starts to close out. Things start to switch. 20, 15, and 20 and 15 tend to be, they open up and they start to go long. So you can work a little bit of Europe. We really don't have to, but there's also a lot of folks who are still on those bands stateside. The next one, and it's not the final one, but it's the final one in terms of the operation. We quit our operations at 2 p.m. on Sunday. Yes, there is a rule where if you don't set up until later, you can actually operate till 5. But most stations, I would say 95% of the stations, don't do that. They quit at 2, and we're going to quit at 2. That doesn't mean we're going to have not broken anything down up till 2 o'clock. We'll probably be starting to do some packing. But at 2 o'clock is when everything ends. And that is when we'll begin to close out the logs, gather the logging information, and start to get our score together. So we'll talk more about that when we're on site. Because basically, in a nutshell, we don't want to turn anything off. I need to gather those that computer data before we turn those off. But 2 o'clock is also an important time because we need people, even if you don't like to come to field day, or you've come to field day and you've gone home, we need to take all this stuff down. We need to do it efficiently, and we need to do it safely, and then we need to take it back to where it lives. And that takes 20 to 25 people to do it in an hour to an hour and a half. So please come back at 2 o'clock and help us close the field day event out. It's really important. Again, a lot of the people that have been doing a lot of the work have been there for 24 hours. And it would be great to have some fresh muscles and fresh attitudes to take all this stuff down, wrap it up efficiently so it comes apart easily next year. Okay, the next topic is band captains. So in the past several years, we've figured out that using band captains allows each one of those operators to make sure that, number one, all the equipment at that band mode is working together, and usually it's that person's equipment, although not all the time. And also, this year what we're doing is instituting a sign-up sheet. So we won't pass these out at the meeting tonight. These will be at field day at each station. And what we'll do with these is when you decide you want to operate a certain band or mode, you just sign up for a slot. And that way, everybody can operate where they want. You might want to operate some 15 meters, then you might want to do some 40 meters. Or you might say, I'll operate anywhere you need me, which would be great too. So, but the band captains are going to be in charge of that band, keeping that band and mode on the air during the 24-hour period. Now, granted, there are some band and modes that won't really be active the whole time. We're hoping 10 meters works. That'd be great if it did. I'm hearing rumblings that the actual digital stations on 10 and 15 might get a lot of activity with FT8 and others because of that, because of the interest that has been generated over the last year. We, of course, know we're not going to have somebody sign up for an 80-meter sideband slot at 2 p.m. That won't happen, but those slots will be decided once we realize when the bands are open. But all the sheets will have all these hours on it. So look for these at field day. Band captains, you don't have to worry about these right now. You just want to make sure that when we get to the field day site, that you want to try to get as many of these slots signed up, and you take the rest of them. only kidding, sort of, but I think you know what I mean. So hopefully we'll have everything going. So those are the band captains. I'm going to list the band captains now. I'll put them on the screen right here. We're going to start with 80 meters sideband is going to be a Doc, WB4QIZ. 80 meters CW will be Don, WS4NC. 40 CW will be Jim, W4UX. 40 sideband is one that we don't have yet. And hopefully at this meeting that you're all at, maybe somebody will say, hey, I'll do that. I'll do 40 sideband. You'll be the band captain for that, so you can operate that and you can help get other folks on. It's a pretty active band for the whole field day period. So that's one that we don't have yet. 20 CW will be Brian, November Zulu 4 November. 20 sideband will be Mason, Kilo Mike 4, Sugar India, India. Gene, WB4MSG, is going to take care of the 15-meter sideband and CW stations. And Don has also agreed to do 10 sideband and 10 CW. Don, WS4NC. Gene will also be watching the 6-meter sideband and CW station. And then for our 2-meter and 440, we're going to have Steve, KG4JWU, doing that. He's done a great job with that through the years, and he's also going to be taking care of our satellite station. Our digital station operator will be Harold, N4HER, and if you want to operate some digital, get with him. There's a possibility that some of the other band captains can run some digital if they'd like. We can do that. The network will be able to handle that. The go-to station will be me, W2DZO, and I'll have Bobby, AA9AU. If he's available, he'll be able to help with that as well. So those are all the band captains. And again, some of those might change. If I'd made an error in this, we can work it out. But the point is, the band captain is going to be the point of contact to make sure that that band mode combination is active throughout the 24 hours, if it can be. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about the logging software. We're going to use N1MM this year. N1MM has a great network setup. It seems to be foolproof, knock on wood, we hope so. But if all goes well, all the computers are going to connect via Wi-Fi, and that's a tip for the band captains. Make sure your computers have Wi-Fi capability. They'll all connect to Wi-Fi to a single router and to a master computer. That master computer will be displayed either up on a projector, a projected image on a screen, or on a 50-inch set. I'm not sure which way to go yet. I'm going to run some tests. I just want it to be visible, and I don't want it to be a noisy situation. A good, rockin', bright projector tends to have a little fan noise, and I just want to make sure that that's not too noisy. But either way, everybody's going to be able to see on site what all the stations are doing, okay, which I think is going to be really exciting. A couple other integral players in field day this year. Harlan will be taking care of our safety. He's going to be roping off some areas, and he's going to be completing the safety checklist. And he's a great person for doing that. We were very successful last year at that, and I'm glad Harlan's been able to agree to do that again this year. Our secretary, Stacy, is going to be taking care of gathering all the bonus points throughout the weekend. When somebody takes a picture of Dan Bessie, our councilman who's going to come visit us, that picture will get its way, hopefully, to Stacy's laptop, where she will be compiling all this information. Pictures of Harold's educational activity, pictures of our setup with brochures and literature about amateur radio. Pictures of the web of the site and the generators. All those bonus information and points will be gathered onto one computer by Stacy. That will include the message traffic handling. We'll take pictures of that and put those in there as well. So Stacy, thanks for doing that, and that should be really helpful in being able to send in our log at the right time and not have to worry about all this, gathering all this information over the next 2 weeks after field day. If this all works, we should be able to make our submission to field day that evening, which will be really great. One point about N1MM, for all the band captains who are loading their software, go ahead and load N1MM. It tends to do an update almost on a daily basis. And just so you know, we're not going to update the computers past Wednesday before field day. Okay? If one does, we'll worry about it on site, but we're going to try not to do any updates to that software past Wednesday. It'll ask you, would you like to update? No, I will publish the version that we're going to use for field day. And that's important because the network, it sort of insists on having the every computer on the network using the same version of the software. There's probably a lot of other things we can talk about here, but I'm going to go ahead and finish up this part of the presentation. I'm going to ask if Dave would entertain any questions from people. Between Dave and Gene and Steve and many others in the room who have been involved with Field Day for the last few years with us could probably answer questions. Ask those questions. If there's any questions that or we don't know the answers, shoot me an email. When I get back from my vacation, I will be happy to answer you, and we'll get it worked out. Bottom line is, this year's Field Day is simply building on great field days from the past, especially the last couple of years. The people who've been involved in have done a great job, and I'm just thrilled to be a part of this one. I missed last year, and I'm glad I'm able to be back and be a part of it. And I'm hoping that we have a successful field day in terms of contacts. Maybe the thunderstorms will stay away. And of course, the food is always great. I'm Henry Heitman. I look forward to seeing you guys on the Friday before field day for all that fun setup. Thanks, guys.
I got one thing to show you here. I ran it a couple of years ago, but
We're working on our field day code, so Josh is going to try to send some code for us. Okay, send some code, buddy. There you go. Good job. Send some more. Go ahead. Good try. Now, send what Papa told you. Way to go. That's pretty good. I think you'll be ready for field day.
Yeah, I didn't see yours at all. Okay, questions? Questions, anybody, anywhere?
I've got a comment.
Okay, Harlan has a safety comment. So comment on the safety.
Those that are coming out, whether it's Friday or Saturday or Sunday, hydration, hydration, hydration is going to be hot. Also, sunscreen, if you're out there setting up, wear your sunscreen. Because again, you're out in the sun. Yeah, there's trees, but most of the antennas are where? Out in free space, so they're out in the open. You're going to get roasted. Make sure you watch what you're doing. Let's not put a sledgehammer on top of somebody's hand while trying to drive a ground stake.
We don't drive ground stakes. We put them in with water.
This man knows how to do it. If you haven't watched this guy, it takes him about 15 minutes. A little longer than that.
About 5.
He puts an 8-foot copper rod in the ground with water in about 10, 15 minutes.
It works.
Most.
It's easy.
He does it. It's great to watch him. I've watched him multiple times. That's how we put them in, but we take them out a little differently. But we just want to be safety. Anybody gets hurt out there, please let me know. I will be out there all 3 days, all day. We do have the kits in the vehicle, and we will be there to take care of anybody who gets hurt. Jim?
Are you going to have sign-in sheets for us?
There will be sign-in sheets. We do accountability of everybody. You will sign into the event. You will sign out of the event so we know who's there, who's not there. That way we can account for you, especially at night, because sometimes we do get visitors. They don't always show up in a white vehicle with blue lights on the roof. And we do want to know who's supposed to be there and who's not supposed to be there, because they sometimes will ask. So let us know. Once we start operating, like I said, we're like Harold or Henry said, we are going to isolate off the entire antenna field. Once we start operating, nobody goes into that field unless we know about it. And also, just don't jump in there immediately, because if you jump under an antenna where somebody's operating, what happens? RF. We want to avoid that. And we don't want to have to shut down our operation because somebody errantly walks in there and starts wondering what an antenna looks like. Okay?
And you don't want to find out what our FARC feels like.
Yeah. So we're going to monitor that a lot. If you stay overnight, what's one thing you need at night? What happens in the evening time? Need bug spray. Mosquitoes come out pretty heavy, and they are heavy this year. They're planned to be heavy because of the amount of rain we've had.
Need that in the daytime.
Need it in the daytime too, especially at night.
Harlan, I got a couple of yard foggers that we can spray the grass around the shelter, which has helped in the past. We put that out before, but you just spray the grass and it helps keep the bugs out of the shed.
I do have 2 tiki desk or table tiki lamps that I'm going to bring out. I'm going to put one on each side of or each end of the pavilion for the evening time, especially. They should fill that pavilion up pretty good.
I have a question and a concern. In the past, they've not always been very diligent about mowing the lawn before we get there. And there has been times that it was a good week and a half, 2 weeks over.
Yeah, and I think in the last couple of years,
they've done pretty good.
When Doc was in charge of that, I think he called them ahead of time and asked them to make sure that it was mowed. And actually, when we got out there on Friday, they were mowing.
Yeah, so I think that was last year.
Yeah,
they were still mowing.
I mentioned that to Henry when I saw him last about, making sure that it got mowed. So we're not.
Even with
to talk to Henry, but does anybody have any sandbags? If it rains again hard like it did the last couple of days,
we're going to need sandbags.
We're going to be ankle deep in that shed because the
parking lot,
that concrete parking pad where the handicap parks, it has now become not a dip of a ditch or what have you through there. It is just a sloped hill right into the shed.
Sweet. That'll be fun.
If you get some sandbags and kind of put it along the edge, it might help keep the water out.
Also, another thing, chicks are real big. They're coming out real big this year. So even if they cut the grass as you're walking up through the trees and those areas, make sure you have your pants protected. Good thing to do, spray a little bug spray down there. That helps keep them from crawling up your legs. So that's safety stuff.
Dave, I had a question about, I'm the 80-meter captain, single side band, and I'd like to know if I could get some volunteers tonight. Ken's going to be helping me. 80 meters is going to be active about 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. till about 6 a.m. And that'll be during the night. And so I need about 2 more operators to come in. I'm willing to work, say, 12 to 3, something in the evening. I'll be there in the afternoon. But do I have any volunteers that could help Ken and I on 80 meters, say from, say, 7 o'clock on Saturday, 7 o'clock Saturday night. Yeah, Saturday night. Could I get some volunteers to help me? Let me know tonight, if you will. I need 2 or 3 people to help out so we can cover this band, because I plan to help out on FT8 on the digital if we use that. By the way, I have 49 states out of 50 states on FT8. I just need Alaska. If I could just get Alaska, I'd have the 50th state. Anybody else using FT8? Few of you? Okay. Anyway, I've seen as many as 1,000, over 1,000 FT8 at one time operating.
Yeah.
So there's gonna be a lot of FT8 going on, I'm sure. So I hope we can do that. Which brings up the question, are we gonna have an internet connection there?
No.
I don't think we can do FT8 if we don't have internet.
No, I'm taking care of that.
You're taking care of that? Okay, good. All right, then on 80-meter sideband, would you let me or Ken know tonight if you can help us on 80 meters? We appreciate it. And we'll train you if you haven't been, if you've never done it.
Would you bring your little sign there? We would like a sign-up sheet, like he says, about everybody signing up, so we know the people that are out there doing the setup and
Let me have your name.
tear down.
Well, if that would need to be, have done tonight, right?
Pardon?
We would have needed to do that tonight.
No, I mean, I'm just talking about the people that show up to help. We'll make sure they sign in.
Oh, okay. Sign in when you get there.
Yeah.
Sign in, sign out. That way, if your wife calls or your husband, we know if you're there or not.
One thing when Gene and I were out there was, I had heard they had locked up all the bathrooms at the shelters. The bathrooms are open, so we have the toilet facility. Don't let that little porta potty that's sitting in the parking lot scare you.
Okay.
We can shoot a tree wall.
Anything else about fields? Any more questions? Anything else about field day? It's going to be a great time. It's going to be a lot of fun, and you'll be missing something if you don't come out. Harlan has one more word.
Yeah. Correctional Tour to Tanglewood dates, I apologize. It's the 28th and 29th of September. I'm just getting over 2 weeks of being sick, so please excuse me on that. The other thing, if you want stickers and patches, let me know. And see Stacy after the meeting so she can take your picture.
Okay, 28th and 29th. Yes. Okay, does anybody have anything else? Last call, does anybody have a motion? Second.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.